In this video, we're going to look at a 2017 Ram, I think it was, but it's a Ram 1500 Generation 2 EcoDiesel. Check engine light, and we had a Underboost code, and we had a fuel injection quantity code. Now, looking at those codes, we can basically go off of, well, maybe they're stored codes, we clear them. A lot of times the codes don't come back and we just let it go. Well, it's always a good idea to go ahead and look at the freeze frame, first of all, and also figure out what causes that code to set. In this case, I have underboost and I have fuel injection quantity higher than expected. If you read the P026D code, what causes that code to set is the computer's looking at the oxygen sensor, and yes, there is an oxygen sensor on diesels. I don't know about other manufacturers, but Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Cummins uses the oxygen sensor, and so does the Italian-made VB1 EcoDiesel. But in the EcoDiesel, that is for actual air fuel management and monitoring. On the Cummins, that they stopped using the oxygen sensor when they got rid of the or switched to the SCR cats in 2013 and DEF design. So just remember that the Cummins intake oxygen sensors were not used for any type of air fuel ratio changes and monitoring. So back to what I was saying, look at the chart. The EcoDiesel sees that there isn't the proper air fuel ratio. One of the possible causes for P026D was boost leak. So now I'm going to look at the possible causes on underboost, and most of the time it's going to be a boost leak. So I want to focus on the obvious, which is looking for a boost leak rather than focusing on a air fuel ratio issue like overfueling injector or something. So I verified the complaint by driving it. That should be step one always. And this one had a exhaust smell to it, and it had a muffled intake sound. So I knew something wasn't right, and it had a serious lack of power. But I still want to look at the freeze frame, give me an idea if the code's set at the same time. Here's a mileage on one code, and this is a mileage on the next. And those codes were set at the exact same time, so the problems are probably related to one thing. Now I'm looking at actual boost pressure versus target boost pressure. They don't match. There's more than a 4 psi difference. Anything more than 4 psi is going to cause the underboost code. Here I took a flight recording, and it's pretty obvious that I'm not getting the proper amount of boost. The blue line up top, it's wanting 22 psi, and the computer is only seeing 2 psi. Now these boost sensors get really clogged with soot, but in all reality, usually cleaning the sensor is kind of not really doing much for it. I've seen completely clogged boost sensors still read pressure. I'm not exactly sure how it even did it, but cleaning the sensor is not a bad idea. But if somebody's aggressive with that, they're just going to create more problems, I think. So they need to be careful when they clean that sensor. Maybe it'd be better just to replace it, but they're starting to add that step to the underboost code charts, I believe, to clean that boost sensor. So not going to hurt anything, but if the code only sets every 1,000 miles, that underboost code, you just got to be careful not to claim that as a fix. So now I want to figure out where my boost leak is. They make a really expensive boost leak checker that you can get through Mopar Essential Tools, but it's it's just crazy expensive, and in reality there's not a lot of things that can be leaking on the EcoDiesel engine. I open the hood and I smell exhaust, and I know that's not normal, and I know that the coolant level's low because I checked the reservoir, and there's an open recall for the EGR cooler cracking and melting the intake if it gets hot enough. So chances are the bottom of the intake's melted, so I want to quickly confirm that by plugging in the smoke tester, which is the evap tester, which can be used for other things than evap leaks, obviously, like this. But I turned it on and nothing was happening. So be careful and don't be dumb like me and think that the smoke was on. It wasn't. Something happened with the machine and it cycled off. So now I'm going to start it up again and look for smoke this time. And I see smoke coming out. It's sealed back up with the cone. Now I see all that smoke right there coming out from, really the only place it could be coming from is the bottom of the intake. I mean, it just started filling up the intake, so it hasn't had time to whip around to the exhaust manifolds or anything like that, turbo, which is back there and stuff. But so if you get an exhaust smell, you're low on coolant, you got a steam cleaned metal pipe from the EGR cooler to the intake, then this is probably what it's going to end up looking like if you have an underboost code. This is the bottom side of the intake manifolds. This one's melted, kind of an extreme one, but most of them look like this when they melt the intake. Not all EGR coolers melt the intake. If you replace your cooler fast enough, you won't have it lead to this, but it'd be a great idea to get your cooler replaced as soon as possible by your dealership. This is a melted plastic causing underboost on another one back at the intake. This is an extreme example of the melting. It actually melted the wiring and the actuator. Also, you might want to ask, of the condition of your rubber coolant hose that feeds coolant to the turbo, because if that's not getting looked at for heat stress, that could fail, causing coolant to leak down the backside of the engine. And it would be a great time to have that taken care of while you're having a VB1 recall performed by your dealership, because if that's going to fail a year down the road, it's going to be way harder to get that paid for out of warranty. So just keep those things in mind and hope everything works out. Thank you.